Oh, this is Nansu.
Hi, Nansu. How are you doing? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I hope we don't have the same problem like what we had last time.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nansu, just since nobody else is on the line yet, are you done with IRD now?
Not yet. Actually, we have some troubles with downloading the data. So compare with the what's the data name?
Viper?
Yeah, compare with Viper. Actually, the IRD has the bigger data set because currently what we do is like we went to the website and use the user interface to download data. But sometimes if the data is too big, actually the website crashed. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actually we have some troubles too, but we hopefully that we can finish downloading the data and finish the matching by this week. So of course we will ignore those data sets too big. That just actually
but
we.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting just the metadata; you're actually getting the whole data.
Actually, they did not separate the metadata with data. So that's why we have to go to data to extract those metadata.
I see. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, we will actually report back to the IRD team that we have some problems with this data set, but we will keep processing this ingestion. So hopefully we can have IRD done by maybe next week or within 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I see Jeff on the line.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff. So who else has called in?
Philip from Oxford. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Philip. And then I see, of course, I was talking to Nansu. Jeff is on the line. Philip is on the line. I see Jing on the line.
Yes.
Hi, Anna. I'm here too.
So Firat is on the line too. And then anybody else that I'm missing? Okay. So for today, basically what I want to do is based on the discussion from last week with the GDC and PCIA folks, I think they said that we would actually go back. Oh, my voice is echoing from some. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, we can't hear you clearly.
Do you hear me better now?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the GDC and PCIA folks, based on our discussion with them and with Ian, the plan is now actually to kind of look for the same or data sets that have same subjects across different repositories, right? So I think what we probably need to do is to talk a little bit about the technical implementation that we would need to do, and also if there is any additional data that we would require for the repositories to provide. I think we need to go back to them to request them for it. So that's one thing that I think we should discuss. Also, we are going to be meeting Matt from Fitter on Thursday, and I just wanted kind of to, brush up on what we were doing with them, and then maybe have some internal discussion before we talk to Matt. Ian had sent a list of things for which he wanted clarification. So if time permits, I'd actually like to discuss those and make sure that we're all on the same page before I write back to him. And then if we have time, we can talk about the other NCE work that we're all doing. So for action item updates, of course, GDC, PCIA, we already know what's going on, and we're going to talk about it. With ENDAR, Ian was helpful in scheduling this, and we've actually scheduled a meeting for next Tuesday, that's the February 20th, from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So if I can send out the meeting invitation to the core development team if any of you are interested in attending this meeting. Please do let me know. Right now, Jeff and I are on the call, and I think Hua is on the call as well. But if I can just send it out to the whole CDT, and whoever wishes to join can call in. And the same for Fitbit call. There's a call scheduled on Thursday, that's February 15th, from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And right now, actually, Matt just wanted to have a quick call, even though it's for 1 hour. I don't expect that it would run for the whole hour, right, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I mean, it may not be, because we're just going to get status from them as well, so.
Yeah, exactly. So if any of you want to be on the call, so it's just me and Jeff for now on the call. I just didn't want to bombard everybody with too many meetings. But if any of you are interested in being on this call, please do let me know, and I'll send out the meeting invitation to you also. So Nancy was just actually giving an update on the Viper IRD work. Nancy, maybe you can do a quick one. Sorry, I'm making you repeat.
Sorry?
No, I said I'm sorry. I'm making you repeat it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Like you want me to repeat again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So basically, we already done the Viper, and we are now working on the IRD. So now we are on the stage of collecting data and do the metadata matching. Because IRD has a bigger data size compared with a Viper, actually we spend more time to download the data. Because what now we do is like we use user interface to go to the website, and by using the advanced the search use filters that we download those data. But sometimes when the data is too big, the website crashes. So we spend a lot of time to deal with that issue. And I think we can finish the data downloading and metadata matching by this week, and hopefully we can deliver all those things to Jeff by next week or next week. So.
Okay, thank you so much. And also, I guess we need to revisit import, because we have to map between import, or we have to actually build linkages between import and GEO and SRA at the study level. So Jeff, is this something that somebody on your team could kind of look into?
Yeah, so I mean, we have the geo we have at multiple levels. Yeah, I can. So we may have to touch base with you on SRA because I think UT Health had done the original SRA. So yeah, so
right.
why don't we? I'll take a look and then we can touch base.
Yeah, I think actually, to tell you the truth, probably I did the mapping for SRA.
Right.
I think it was partly me, and then the other GRA who was there did a little bit, and then I finished the mapping for SRA. So probably I can work with you on this. So I just don't know on import whether they have I remember the import folks telling us that they already have the geo and the IDs,
right,
data set IDs on as part of their metadata. So maybe it probably may be very simple.
Yeah, and this is actually, I mean, it's also actually a question for Philippe, I think, too, right? Because one of the questions is how do we want to, or how should this be modeled in DATS? Because it's not that the same data set is somewhere, right? But that there might be a crossover in terms of sample or the
right.
subject.
You're right.
So that's basically the same problem we talked the last time with the TCGA and the TCIA,
yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. So that's actually, and Philippe, you're on the call, right?
No, Philippe, you weren't on the call last time, right?
No, he's on the call now, right? I think.
Yeah, he's on the call now, yes.
I was not on the call last time, so maybe I need an update on the problem that you face with SRA.
It's not a problem. It's so out of some of the last calls with some of the other repositories, there's potential for linking on metadata within the record, right? So, for example, the same sample might exist, in multiple repositories, or this data was part of the same study, or this data came from the same subject.
Right. That's
right?
correct,
And
yes.
I'm not, in terms of that, how do you see that being modeled right now? Because I don't recall those types of linkages being there, right?
Well, the linkage, we can identify the sample by its identifier, and then we can possibly state that it derives from another material. So these derivations can be definitely mapped into that, or some of the relation. I guess we could use an extra property to capture some of it. But to prove identity just based on the annotation, that would be definitely hard. I think we would have to make sure that we use the identifier of the sample across different sets of records as supplied from it, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd either either it would be the sample identifier, or they recode sample identifiers. It would have to be, the repository providing us the link or the information that this is, equivalent to, sample X over here.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're saying that as part of the sample. So, this, because we have to. Let's see my spreadsheet here.
Do you want me to pull up the DATS spreadsheet, Jeff?
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, give me just a minute.
Okay. So Philippe, in terms of the data, like under data set, there's a related identifiers.
Right. So all objects have related identifiers or alternate identifier or identifier. So I presume that for the case of material, well, we would be using material, and we would have to say, okay, this is the identifiers issued by SRA. And it might have an alternate identifier, which is a sample database identifier, and list them there. So,
but we're linking the data set records together, right? So by that information.
so we would need
identifier would be the proper place to put this, to say that, you know, data set A and data set B are related, and then the relation type. The type of relationship, we could have relationships for same study, same subject, same sample, or however we want it to define.
You would not,
right?
So you wouldn't list the actual sample. You want a flag to say.
We could do that as well. I'm trying to think in terms of, since we're returning data sets, we need to link to other data sets as well, right? Because we don't have, well,
so if in the case of geo, I guess we would need to say this is a geo series, possibly, and maybe these data sets are related. Without introspecting the data set itself, it would be hard to know what is the nature of the overlap. Because I don't think the data set itself will tell you these samples are shared.
Right.
It's only by, as far as I recall, by matching the identifiers of the subjects or the samples that you will know. You will have an idea of how this material has been used to generate new data sets.
Right. But we have, we can place so related identifiers, we can, it's part of study and with think sample as well, right? Checking.
Related identifiers are available to all.
Okay.
But that's all.
But that I guess if you are going to say related identifier for the sample, it won't be related, right? It would be the same at the sample.
Oh no,
level.
but the data. So if we add so let's say we link two data sets together because they have the same subject, right? The data sets aren't the same, but the underlying subject is the same. And
right.
So those two data sets are related because they have the same subject.
Correct.
Right?
So can we do that at the data set level? Do we have like a related identifier for a data set?
Yeah.
But you still need to be able to
Yes, but my understanding of these alternate identifiers, it's the same data set as it designated in a different way. Maybe because it's...
No, it's not the same data set.
It's basically the same patient who have multiple data sets, right?
So the genomic information might be in the genomic database, and the imaging data might be in TCIA, right? But they're the same
Right.
subject.
But
Or
they're
the
same
same collection
same
of
patient.
subjects.
Yeah.
So data is across multiple repositories.
Right, but you are navigating from the sample, so you would have a material and you would point from that material. This material is present in dataset A and is also used in dataset B.
Yeah.
Or
Sounds like
they,
it's
yeah. I was under the impression that you wanted to say dataset has identifier XYZ, and dataset is related to another dataset using the related identifier property to point to that dataset. Now this is where I was somehow disagreeing about the use of related identifier for a dataset.
Oh, so the related identifiers at the dataset level would actually be modifications potentially of the original dataset or something like that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would probably need to go back to the definition, to the exact definition of related identifier. What is entailed? How fuzzy we allow the system to be?
Because I mean, do you have any of the definitions of what the relations can be?
No, I thought not.
Let me pull that out.
Because in the spreadsheet it doesn't have the specific, well, at least relationships.
Right. I need to check that.
Yeah, related. Yeah, it doesn't actually have the. I don't know what that would be.
Let me go back to.
Philip is right. Maybe it's just like a two data set, two sample, but we are on the data set level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this would mean actually if we want to do it at the sample level, we still need to kind of to be able to go in and know that, you know, you have the same sample in both the data sets, right?
Yeah, we need to go to sample level.
Yeah.
Have a sample level,
and
sample level metadata, which is
correct.
to some material ID and referring basically to the same from same patient, same tissue, then generate multiple data sets.
I'm looking at the JSON schema for related identifier, and the description is like information about an identifier of related resources. So maybe that's a valid use of the related identifier that Jeff was actually intending to use, or Anu actually, to link other data sets from that relationship. So I stand corrected, I think.
Okay, so we would just need to, I mean, because we could link it in two places, right? You could have the data sets linked, and then also if there was a direct subject-to-subject linkage.
Yes.
You know, if it's a data set with multiple subjects, that might be a little more difficult, but you know, you could do it at multiple levels. But we would need to come up with a set of
rules and
relationships.
Yeah.
Like, what are the relationships you want to use?
Mm. So because right now, Jeff, are we using these related identifiers, for example, for defining relationship between, let's say, Geo and Gemma versus Geo and Array Express?
No, because that's right now in distributions, I think.
But Gemma is modified, right?
Yeah, Gemma is modified. So I don't know if we actually used related identifiers there. So I'll check on that.
I thought distributions were for identical data sets.
Well, they're not. I mean, even Geo and ArrayExpress aren't identical because ArrayExpress adds sometimes additional information. So they were.
Then that would still be.
They were
related,
sort of
right?
variant data sets.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll check on that. That's a good point, actually. So we could potentially add that information as well.
So, but these relationships, if we are going to plan to use the related identifiers at the dataset level, we would still need the relationship at the sample level to be able to infer the relationship at the dataset level, right?
Yes. So the related identifier has an attribute relation type, which allows you to describe the nature of this relationship. So it could be derivation, it could be subset, it could be a reuse or reannotation, repurposing. But again, the difficult bit here is that we would need to come up and maintain the control terminology to cover those aspects.
Right.
And this is in itself like a significant amount of work, and so I think to stabilize all these patterns as we go along. But that's definitely a valid use of related identifier. Yes.
I guess in the case of TCIA and TCGA, we can probably just link them up directly, right?
You linking the
Based
data
on the-
sets that have some similar or have some of the same constituents, right?
Yeah.
Base subjects or studies, yeah.
So we would link them up at the level of the subject.
It depends, right? It depends on what the data sets are that the site provides, right? So you can imagine a one-to-many mapping if a data set on one end has multiple subjects together, and on the other end has individual subjects as a data set.
So that would be at the level of study, treatment, data acquisition. So my question is, do you still need additional metadata to be pulled in from, let's just assume that we're going to look only at TCIA and TCGA. Do we need to pull in additional metadata then to be able to actually build this relationship?
Yes, I would say so, because my understanding is that if a dataset is pulled from Geo to TCGA, it would be reannotated and reanalyzed So the raw data would be probably identical, but the sample descriptors may be re-annotated, curated, harmonized across the type of study they are. And then the data set, the derived data resulting from the data transformation would also be different from the data set stored in Geo, for instance. But again,
Philippe, just to bring you up to speed, we're talking about the Genomic Data Commons and the TCIA, so basically TCGA data sets and TCIA. So TCGA has all the data sets for different tumors, and those
right.
are all they have like genomic expression data, methylation data, and all of that, and also the clinical data, at least part of it. Whereas TCIA has all the imaging data, but not for all the
subjects,
all the participants who are in the TCGA data sets. Some of them are there. So I guess the point that was made was that when they're displaying, all we need to tell our or display is that you have a data set. Let's assume it's a GBM, TCGA GBM data set, and you have methylation information there. And for the TCGA GBM data set, you also have information about the imaging or their MRI, whatever imaging, and that's available in TCIA. That's what I understood from the discussions, that we would actually deal at that level and not specify that each of these individual participants has a corresponding image in TCIA. Was that right?
I guess so, yes.
Yeah, I sort of lost track of that in the middle. But I mean, I think we just need to sort of map out with a couple examples from TCGA and TCIA, and then also with import Geo and SRA, just take a couple examples.
Okay.
And, map that out. Then we could review those. We have a meeting next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be probably missing the call next week because I've got a meeting in Cambridge. So I'm not sure I would be able to be at a call at that time of the day. But happy to definitely review the example offline until next week.
Okay. So for TCIA, we are pulling it. I don't remember now. Jeff, I thought we were pulling it via DataCite, right?
TCIA, yes. Currently, yes.
Because
we
I know
we had originally used theirs, and then they asked us to move to DataCite. But if they ask us to move back again, we can always move back. So.
Because I know, again, the GDC, which is basically TCGA stuff, was mapped by us.
Okay.
And we mapped SRA. So, Jeff, if you want to initiate it, and then I could always help out.
Okay.
Pull in a couple of examples, and then we can look at the mapping.
Will do.
All right. Thank you. So, Philippe, for the IETB, I know you were mapping a subset of their metadata to that. Do you have any updates?
No, I don't have any update on that one. So I think the main reason is that there were a number of ambiguities in the mapping that somehow were also related to overall rules and patterns that were used to map similar objects somehow from other repositories, and how we would somehow harmonize this across. And I think we dropped the ball somehow midway. The transformation is partly done. I think I shared a file with Jeff many months ago. So I'm really sorry about this. I don't know exactly what's the situation right now.
So maybe I can follow up with you offline via email with you and Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe one thing I can...
Go ahead.
Sorry, Hannah, for cutting you. So, yes, last week I've been approached or contacted by Kevin Reed from NYU. I don't know if you remember him. He was contributing a lot to the LATS model and reviewing it at the beginning of CloudCADDY.
Uh-huh.
What he contacted me because our group because he wanted to index the catalogs they are looking after in DataMed. And so it's not only NYU, but I also have contact with Cornell and another couple of groups there which are exchanging or sharing similar data. The use case is slightly different, is that they don't necessarily have the data set themselves, but they are pointing to the access condition and the contact with the authors owning the data set, so it can be discovered through DataMed. They've already did some kind of mapping into schema.org data sets, which is a very small amount of tags. And I've started the mapping of their JSON, the JSON that can be exported from, produced by their API into that. So the mapping is relatively straightforward. So I don't expect it to take that much time, and I will prepare the data transformation pipeline file for Jeff as well. They got a couple of questions which are related to type of information they are storing in JSON, which I cannot really precisely map whether it's a dimension in that or whether it's a study group. So I've asked for clarification, and we might have a follow-up call at some point next week.
Okay, thanks for. So they will export in that, or they will still export in their own format, and then we pull that in and convert it into that, right?
So my understanding. So we have probably options. I think the message they serve for the recorder is so small that they could also probably implement the DATs directly. Because they can also point us to their database dump or the JSON, the entire feed for their content. I was thinking maybe that running a transformation pipeline as the one defined by Jeff would also be an effective way to run the indexing. Just let me know which would you'd prefer.
So that's Jeff's call.
Because we need, basically, if they provide information to us, and then we can, because we need to get the data from them somehow, right? So whatever's easiest. Right.
I've already have the link to the dump, the JSON landing page somehow. So, and I've done 90% of the mapping.
Right.
I'm just waiting for you to send me a couple of pointers or clarification on some of the fields that they are holding, and then we should be good to go.
Yeah. The question is, how do we get all the information on what landing pages to go to?
Well, that's, I think, fairly easy, if I understand correctly.
But I mean, it would be easy for them. I don't know if they have like if they have a sitemap file which would link to all of these, or
I can point you to the link to the JSON feed that they gave me.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, that'd be good.
Okay. And I can prepare the transformation file.
Yeah. If we have the link in the transformation file, then we can, then that should get us, ability to get documents to review.
Okay.
So I have to set up, moving on, for ICPSR, I have to set up a meeting again with Matthew, but since we have the other meetings coming up, probably I'll try and set it up after that, so that we can review the exports that they have. So I remember, Jeff, that you had talked about discussing the exports with Philippe. Is that something that you want to quickly talk about, or you just want it to be a separate meeting, maybe?
The exports of
from ICPSR.
I don't know if we have to review them with Philippe. Because I think the main question is, how are we going to model the variables in the search, right?
I have notes here where it says Philippe and Jeff to meet to discuss regarding ICPSR schema.org update. And then, of course, the DDI and that.
Maybe the question for Philippe was variable modeling in schema.org. If that was probably the question. How are they? Philippe, do you know how schema.org is handling variables right now, or dimensions?
Yes, they've got what I call variable measures, but they are still somehow discussing the adoption or the vetting of that element. So I think it's part of the specification, but not officially released, I believe. Or maybe it is now. But still, I think there are discussions ongoing. I saw on a Git tracker the various of the schema.org further discussions. In fact, I think that the main complaint I had was that they were not linking the variable measure to the measurement type so clearly. So it was not really easy to link them up unambiguously.
And it's variable measure?
Variable measured.
Variable measured, okay.
Okay. Okay. Oh wow. Okay, so we did talk quite a bit about this. So for Fitbit, with whom we're going to have the discussion on Thursday with Matt. So the plan was for them to embed the metadata in DAX and schema.org format on their dataset landing page, and for us to be able to grab it, right?
Yeah, because Fitbit was interested in doing that, and so I don't know if they've. I mean, the question is if they've actually taken any steps towards that, or if it's something they're still planning on doing. You know, what guidance they need from us.
So
they're sort of locked into a sort of a development timeline. So, since I think they're a contract.
Right. So Matt said that, I forget the developer's name, said that his developer has done some work, which is why I think they wanted to touch base again with us. I just don't know to what extent the work has been done. And then, but even if they do that, so we need to have something which we could use to crawl their landing page, right? The dataset landing page.
Right. So I mean, they might have a they might have services that give that information, or they might have a sitemap file that does that as well. But we can find out from Matt when we talk to him. You know,
okay.
So
from our end right now, we don't need to kind of prepare at this point.
Since I don't know what the questions are, I wouldn't know what to prepare for.
Okay, fair enough. So I just wondered if we had some generic, setup to be able to extract this information, but maybe not. There hasn't been a site that's done this yet, so we haven't tried to do it yet. So that's why we're trying to do this with them. Mm-hmm.
So, getting information from them, if they have it available, would be,
good.
Then we could run some tests.
Okay. All right. So in the last 10 minutes, I actually just want to go over Ian's questions for the BioCADDY workshop. So let me pull up that. It's not very clear there. So what was discussed is that we would have a workshop. This was discussed in the steering committee meeting, that we would have a workshop which would be run by BioCADDY, which kind of talks maybe a little bit about lessons learned, etc. during the project. This would be in lieu of the all hands meeting. So Ian had some questions with regard to because I think Ian, Alison and Dave would be the main folks that would organize the workshop. And so Ian had some draft list of topics for...
Do you have a draft time date for this workshop?
No, so they said from April through May, June, I think. Between April and June is when they're thinking about doing it, and they want to do it here in Bethesda.
Okay.
But they don't have a specified time yet, right, Jeff? I don't think they talked about.
There was no time, but I can tell you that June is really bad. So
June is bad for you or for?
Well, yeah, I mean, because I'm already going. I mean, there's a meeting that starts the 14th. I come back from that and then go to another meeting. And then my daughter is at volleyball national championships end of the month. So basically, yeah, the first week of, first 2 weeks of June look to be okay.
Then if it's June, let's make sure it's first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think, early June is also better for me.
Yeah, and then May, the week of May 7th, I have to be in D.C. anyway for advisory board on the 8th through 10th. Maybe I'll just send you a list of dates that I'm not available right now.
Okay. So I can pass that on to Elizabeth, because right now I think we haven't heard. I was asking Elizabeth sometime late last week, if we have heard anything, and she said she hasn't heard anything from them with regard to dates, etc. Except for the fact that they would like. I remember Dave saying somewhere between April to June is what. That was the time frame they were looking at.
Okay.
So for the topics, I mean, I can also send this around, but Jeff, I guess Ian had a couple of questions to kind of get an idea of what the metadata is that the repositories provide. So you see on the screen, are the TRS files up to date in GitHub Business Questions? So we do have them all updated, right?
Yeah, but they're because there were the two repositories. So let me check on that.
This is in the data. I mean, we can point him to the data pipeline repository.
Yeah, I mean, he sees both of them.
Right.
So let me. I'll confirm that.
Okay. The next question is again for you. So where do we find the state of how repositories are updated? I think.
How do we find the state?
As in whether a repository has been updated or not, and presumably the date of the last update.
The date of the last update is actually in the record itself. And as mentioned on the last call, we're testing the automated recrawls
right
now. But that should be in the provenance information in the record itself.
So if they look, does Ian? I mean, if you use the Elasticsearch endpoint, do they get to see the information of the indices? Because I think the index name also tells you, right?
But that's not the. That won't tell you if the record has. Well, yeah. So there are two dates, right? One is the date that the index was pulled, and one is when the record was modified. So there's the record information that should be in the record itself.
Okay.
And then the index date right now, that was in the in the name as you suggest of the index, but if you guys push it to a standard named index, that might not be there anymore. So that's a question of how.
So how are we going
I
to
don't know. Maybe you do keep the date on the index internally. I don't know. I mean, that's sort of an implementation detail on your.
I think we do. As I know, we do. Jing and Firat can confirm this, but as I remember, we don't change the dates on the index, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, just check. Yeah, if you check what the name of the index is that you.
Yeah, sure. If there's any update information, right?
So I guess what Jeff is asking is when they create the index, they have the date that the index was created in the index title, right? You have the name of the repository
so for example,
and the date.
Yeah, so I'm looking at an Array Express record, and the ingest time is 3 months earlier than the crawl time of the record, which means that we had ingested it at a prior time, and it basically didn't change.
Oh.
So in the record itself, in the provenance section, the ingest time will tell you when that record was, retrieved. Or not, when that record was last updated.
So just can we have a quick look at what you're looking at? I know we are kind of running close to getting done, but we can go over the remaining also maybe later, but
yeah.
I just promote.
Trying to launch controls. So I'm surprised they haven't switched to Zoom, since UCSD, all their stuff is switching to Zoom.
So I think for right now, Elizabeth said that they will still stay with ReadyTalk for this year for BioCaddy. And then maybe we switch to Zoom.
Okay, so I don't know which window do you see right now?
The one which says the ReadyTalk conference control.
Okay,
stuff.
that was the wrong one then. Okay, hold on, let me. Is that better?
Okay. Yes. If you could zoom
Yeah, so this is I just grabbed just a Array Express ingest, and so there's a date on the Array Express index. There are multiple dates.
Right.
And this one was the August run, but if you look at the ingest time for this record, it's May. Right? So basically that means it came in May, it was new, it was either new or updated in May. And so we need more information, like if it's an update or if it's new, we would have to add that into the provenance record. But right now, this is the sort of the last update time for this record.
So maybe we can ask Ian if he is thinking about it at the record level, or maybe he's just asking about it at the the repository level, right?
Well, because we have both information, so.
But then, if we run an update and there are no changes on any of the records, how would that get reflected?
Basically, right now we publish the same index with a different date.
Okay.
And that information that information is also available in the system itself to say when it was crawled last.
Okay. Okay, so maybe you need to press the green arrow on the left side here.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. So maybe we can talk about the remaining issues that he is asking. So Philippe, are you still on the line? I know you and Alejandra were working on the data type vocabulary, right?
Correct. Yes.
Did we finalize it?
No, we didn't. And I think the main reason for that is the lack of clarity about what was the level of support long-term for developing such vocabulary. And this is really related to the ultimate longevity of DataMed itself. So how do we go about it? And it's all interlinked with all the questions that we have raised today as well. So, and how to interact with the search engine as well. So any development need to be informed by development on the search capability. If there are gaps, then we need to know, and we would include those elements. And but working ab initio like this without any visibility or clarity is somehow difficult, to be honest.
Right. I thought, as I remember, we were going to somehow tag, right, at the level of record, what kind of a data type that particular record is. Because right now we just have very generic repository level tags that we have put in on the search side or the UI side.
Right, but the vocabulary that we were working on was also meant to cover aspects, whether we need to cover the compression, the checksum type, all these MIME type, all these formats that are used for the files, and a number of descriptors related to those notions, plus, of course, the additional qualifiers or to identify the type of relation as we covered earlier on for the data set, for instance, and related identifier, all these kind of things. Of course, and I think those would need to be, anchored in a semantic framework somehow. So whether it is mesh or another one, so we could somehow maybe ease a transition to NLM if there is still an interest at all or whatever. But these are the considerations we would have to bear in mind. Or another way to put it, to work around that, is to see what is currently used in the index, what are the tags that show up, and what people are querying. So getting the log, the query logs.
I know that we gave the current, what data types are being pulled in currently in DataMed. I remember that we did provide that information to Alejandra, but I'm not sure that we provided the querying information, the information with regard to the queries on the user end. We could provide that because we actually just recently pulled it out for the Emory folks.
Okay, so I will have to check with Alejandra on this, just to be sure I have it. and then get back to the group.
Okay. All right. I think we have already exceeded our time, so we'll stop it at this today, and then we meet again next week. I'll anyway send out the 2 invitations to for the 2 meetings with Endar and also with Matt and his team to the team. I mean to the CDT, and whoever is interested in calling in, please do so.
Okay.
Thank you all for calling in. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Anu. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.